Hello, everybody, and welcome back to After Dark Conversations. I'm your host, Super Marcey, and today I am joined by Bart Roberts to discuss our first celebrity crushes. Hello, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining. I'm so glad you put your hand up to come on the show and talk about a very not controversial subject, or maybe it is.
I think it kind of depends, right? On some of it is why they were your crushes, right?
Yeah.
And then I think the other part of it is the era. Some
Yes.
people are going to have like very particular. I kind of missed Saved by the Bell. Like I was just a little too young for when Saved by the Bell was like a big thing,
Mm,
right? I never had the whole like Elizabeth Berkley versus Tiffany Amber Thiessen thing. Like I just kind of saw
mm.
them as I was older, and I was like, well, yeah, they're both super pretty, right? But I think it's safe, but also does have that little bit of like, no, this
Yeah.
is my choice. You're wrong.
Yeah. Well, I might be showing my age, but I totally was around for Saved by the Bell.
So
And
I was like a kid when Saved by the Bell was
yeah,
going on.
I'm trying to think, how old was I? Maybe seven, six or something when I was watching it.
Yeah. So I was born in
Roundabouts.
'85. So like Saved by the Bell was just like it was just kind of one of those things where it was like it was on. I was aware of it, right? But I was like a kid, so I was much more into like one's stuff that was more either cartoons
Mm.
or live action stuff that was definitely focused at kids.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
was I was totally Saved by the Bell, Beverly Hills 90210. Even at that age, that was my life.
oh yeah, see the only thing I cared about on Fox at that point that I could remember is like the old X-Men cartoon and then The
Yes.
Simpsons.
Yes. Oh, the Simpsons big one. Like, totally. But yeah, like we're sort of same age group, so our things will be the same. But my first crushes definitely go down to me being at like 6, 7, discovering boys and all that stuff. So maybe it's slightly embarrassing, but I'm not embarrassed. I stand by them.
No, they made you who you were, right? And like we're gonna
Yes.
definitely get into some of like my weird psychology around what I guess like in women. Kind of speaking of that, right? Sort of
Hmm.
first childhood celebrity crush. And then I started thinking, I was like, oh man, there are just so many. I kind of, as I mentioned to you, like I super overthought all this, and
Yes.
you're like, I hope you have a couple. Maybe just I checked in with you earlier and was like, hey, anything that I need or whatever. He said, no, just make sure you have maybe 4 or 5 people. I was like, oh, well, I've got like a whole roster. So as I mentioned, I kind of divided them into what I would call different eras of like
Ah,
my crushes,
yes.
um, and then a couple different genres as well. So
Mm,
I figure since I have like a billion of them, I'll kind of like
yes.
go by my like ranking, and then if there's anyone in particular that strikes your fancy to talk about, like we can kind of like
Sure.
deep dive on that, and then like I'll share that after you go, or
Yeah.
we can trade off or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, yeah, mine are kind of grouped in a specific way, I suppose. And by the time I was in high school, I had a whole book of like every famous person or whatever that I thought was good looking and had a crush on. It was
Right.
ridiculous. Yeah, it was ridiculous. But yeah, I'll look. I'll kick off proceedings. I'm gonna go with. Okay, I was probably about 6, 7, and I discovered the movie Stand by Me. It is to this day my favorite movie of all time.
Okay.
Right. At that age, the kids in the movie when they filmed it were like, 11, 12, 13. So
Right. Like
sure.
appropriate, but a little bit older.
Yeah,
Like,
right. Like when you're 6, 7, yeah, you just have a crush on that boy.
sure.
But that film sort of got me crushing on Will Wheaton, funnily enough, because he was the nerdy one, and
Okay. Right. Yeah,
I
for sure.
believe because then that translates to Star Trek TNG, which I loved, one of my favorites ever. He was in that, and my love for skinny nerd boys probably is because of him. We'll just say that. Then we had like River Phoenix, who my life
Right.
has changed when I discovered him. Like what he was the most beautiful boy I'd ever seen,
And
and
gets to back it up with all
oof,
incredible talent too, right? Like
right,
that way you can also kind of feel good about it. You're like, oh, I'm not just objectifying you.
yes,
I'm a fan of you, and I'm
yeah,
objectifying you.
exactly. Like he was my life. Yeah, these two boys were just my life back then. I got my love for nerds, nerdy boys from Will Wheaton for sure. But I also, when the characters he played, I also related to because I was a nerdy girl. River Phoenix was the bad boy sort of thing, and I guess that kind of goes to Corey Feldman because he was kind of the bad boy as well, and I used to love him growing up.
Oh,
And then
sure.
we have Jerry O'Connell. No, I didn't have a crush on him in Stand By Me, but when he grew up a little bit and was on Sliders, which I also watched, and
I say,
I
right, by the time he
was
gets
like,
to
holy
Sliders and
shit,
Scream 2.
yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh my god. And yeah, so total crushes on all those boys back when I was younger. I mean, I still love them all to some degree now because they're amazing. And I have met Will Wheaton and Corey Feldman, and Will Wheaton was the only famous person because he really was my first big celebrity crush. I don't get like tongue tied or embarrassed or whatever you want to say it. When I meet someone who's semi famous, I act normal. With him, I couldn't say anything. It was so embarrassing. I finally found my voice, and that was fine. But at first, it was so embarrassing. Like,
Oh yeah,
geez. But
I get that
yeah.
for sure.
What's your first little section?
Okay, so my first little section kind of like ties into around the same time. So I'm calling this one like
Okay.
childhood. So this is
Yes.
kind of like from like as early as I can remember to like
Mm,
maybe 6 or 7.
mm.
So this is my like quick list. Um, Princess Leia, like
Yes.
of course, right?
Yes.
April O'Neil, both the
Yes.
cartoon version and Paige
Yes.
Turco in
Yes.
Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze. Melissa Joan
Yes.
Hart, Clarissa Explains It All.
Yes. Yes.
Danielle Fishel on Boy Meets World, and then
Yes.
the one that like I don't know that I ever hear anybody else talk about, but I just rewatched the specific movie that I remember first seeing her in, and I
Mm.
think it informs certainly some of my taste throughout my childhood and to this day, and that is Haviland Morris from Gremlins 2. She's the one who plays like the um she's the redhead with like the glasses who's like trying to
Yes.
seduce Billy and like kind of like working her way through things. And I just rewatched Gremlins 2 again recently, and I was like, oh man, I still have an enormous crush on her. I still have a thing for redheads and women with glasses, and I'm like, oh, I guess that's where this
Yeah.
started. This
Yeah.
is like the absolute like root of that
Yeah.
tree of
Yeah.
desire.
Yeah. The other one's like definitely because as a girl growing up, like I idolized like April O'Neil. You total girl crush on April O'Neil,
Oh
like
yeah,
all of
and in the
them.
cartoon, right? So she's super cool.
Yeah.
She's a reporter. She hangs out with the Ninja Turtles. In the cartoon, especially, right? She's got that yellow jumpsuit. She
Mm.
looks amazing, right? Obviously, she does because she's a cartoon, so
Yeah.
she doesn't have to ever, worry about what she's eating. So she's always
Hmm.
hanging out and eating pizza with the turtles because she just has
Exactly.
to be drawn the nice way.
Yeah.
But her, and then like I said, Paige Turco in Secret of the
Mm.
Ooze. I can't remember who played her in the first one, but she
Judith.
yes.
I
Oh,
forgot her name now.
right.
Yes, Judith Hogue.
There we go.
Yes,
Beautiful
gorgeous.
one, but
Both of them are gorgeous.
but
Yeah.
Paige Turco, like maybe it was just the time. Like I was a little bit older when that
Mm.
came out and saw it.
Mm.
Like Paige Turco, I remember seeing her in the theater and just being like, "Oh my god, she is so pretty."
Mm.
So those are kind of
Yeah.
like from that first era.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
I'd say
early,
it's definitely relatable because again, like I said, as a girl, it's like idolizing those characters like Princess Leia, another one,
right, and
and you
like
know,
beautiful, super cool, funny,
strong.
strong.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like to this day, Princess Leia is like the biggest crush you could have. Really
Right.
is.
She's pretty
Miss
perfect.
Carrie. Yeah, I miss Carrie Fisher.
Same.
A beautiful,
Absolutely.
amazing, amazing lady. But those are totally relatable, and I loved Clarissa Explains It All. I
Same.
totally get it. She was just so cool and quirky. It was
She was,
amazing.
and she was like, she felt very approachable. And I think that's what
Yes.
I like. Both, I think that was one of those kind of things that, especially as like a young person, like figuring
Mm,
out that I was like into girls and stuff. Like both her
mm,
and Danielle Fishel as Topanga on Boy Meets
yeah.
World, like they're both like gorgeous,
Mm,
and they also just seem like really approachable and like you could at like the worst case scenario is like, oh cool, we can hang out and be friends forever, and you're
mm,
an actually like a really cool awesome person. This isn't me being
yeah.
like, oh we're gonna be friends so I can try and kiss you, right? This is like,
Mm,
I would really like to kiss you, but I'm super glad we're friends. And like they kind of fit like that, like
Mm.
super approachable, friendly,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
down to
It's
earth, normal.
yeah. It totally makes sense. Okay, my next little batch, probably still around the same time, to be honest.
Sure.
This was kind of getting into maybe people who are older, but I was still quite young and discovering like he can think people are cute and whatnot. So going with like you said, Princess Leia, I was in love with Han Solo, but also Indiana Jones at like 7. I
Oh, for
was
sure.
convinced like I would marry them somehow. I don't know.
Well, and
Uh,
so that kind of like gets to one of my other sections. Like my last section I have is like my platonic man crush, and
mm,
it's Harrison Ford. Like as a
yeah,
kid, right? Han Solo, Indiana Jones. I was just like,
right.
I didn't want to kiss him, but I was like, God, I just want to hang out with him. He seems
Yeah,
so cool. I want to be him when I grow up. Um, it's
right.
and I think the only the closest you can come to that as far as those thoughts and emotions, it feels like a crush.
Yeah, yeah,
And he's
pretty
just
much.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. It was like with April O'Neil was a big one. I would say it was like girl crush for me.
Oh, for sure.
But
Yeah.
you know, I totally would date April O'Neil anyway. Whatever, it's all good. She's lovely. But yeah, so sort of yeah, they were the crushes getting were older than me. That would be the oldest, but the other ones of that era, like there was Christian Slater again. It's the bad boy thing,
Oh,
and
sure.
oh
Like
my god,
Heather's
what
and pump up the volume.
yeah. Like the skateboarding one, Gleaming the Cube was he was like very bad boy in that. Like, oh my god. Seriously. What that man, I had him all over my bedroom wall. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and he's
That it
he's
was a
just
big
got such a
one.
great voice too. Like it's just such a
Yeah.
distinctive voice. It's like one of those things where it's like it allows you. I think sometimes with those crushes, you have those weird little things that you like fixate
Mm,
on. It's like one of those things where I'm just like, oh, like that could even be
yeah.
like a platonic crush. I'm just like, I just love his voice. He's
Yeah.
just got such a
He
distinctive voice and like way of talking.
yeah.
He could read the phone book and make it sound cool.
Right. And he's still just so beautiful. Like that's a crush that just wouldn't die. Seriously. Uh but yeah, I'm trying to remember around that era. It was definitely yeah, like him, and then we could move on like still kind of older ish than I was, but not too much. It was you know Mark Paul Gosselaar, Mario Lopez,
Sure.
Saved by the Bell era, and then we'd have 90210. It was all about Luke Perry, but also I kind of did like Jason Priestley, that very similar look, but yeah, the other like love of my life back then was Luke Perry. And it just makes me sad to think that he's no longer here. I was devastated
I was so
when he
sad.
passed.
I loved him on
Um,
Riverdale. It was nice
it,
seeing him like grow up
yeah,
and really like
like
age gracefully into that like
yeah,
older dad roles. I think some people don't.
yeah,
I don't know if they're not capable, they don't want to, they don't want to face that
yeah,
reality that they're not the like teen
yeah,
heartthrob anymore. And I'm sure some of it is also just casting agents. But I thought he was a great
yeah.
pick in Riverdale, especially.
Yeah, I just he was just so talented. Like Dylan was everybody's like, oh my god, like wow. I don't know who I would be if I didn't have the Luke Perryness, and just wow. And it amazes me that his son is just become one of my favorite wrestlers to watch with Jungle Boy on AEW,
Oh,
and
I see.
he looks so much like his dad, and I almost cry every time I see him. It's ridiculous.
I didn't know that. I haven't watched wrestling since a very traumatic Saturday morning when the Papa Shango cursed the Ultimate Warrior, and then I had
Oh
no childhood.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's another
That's a
story
bit
for another time. But that was
that's
definitely like one of those
that's
early
another
childhood
podcast.
traumas. Exactly. Yeah. When you have the one on early childhood traumas, let me
Yes.
know, and I'll definitely be back to share that
We'll
story.
do a group therapy session for that, I think. But yes, give us some of your other ones, because I
Okay, so
feel like
this.
I'm rambling on about beautiful men.
Oh,
So
that's okay. I don't mind. So this next kind of like batching again, it's funny because I think without discussing it, we've kind of like gone into these similar time frames in
mm,
our lives. So this is the one that I'm calling like elementary to middle school, like
hmm
that like maybe second grade to sixth grade,
yeah,
sixth, seventh grade, or, fifth, sixth grade, somewhere in there.
yeah.
Princess Jasmine from Aladdin,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes.
Gina Davis in A League of Their Own, and then
Yes.
I didn't see the movie at the time, but then her in the trailers for The Long Kiss
Long Kiss
Goodnight.
Goodnight.
Right, yeah,
Yes.
with the like slicked,
Yes.
bleached, like short hair. I was just like,
Right.
right. And again, continuing the redhead theme that Haviland Morris had so well set earlier in life.
Yeah.
Um, Pamela Anderson, because like
Yes.
I mean, it was she was inescapable. I think there was no way to
Yeah.
be interested in women at that time and not
Yeah.
like have, especially growing up as a boy, like not have even the slightest, just the slightest crush on her at least, right?
Everybody watched Baywatch. Most people watched it for her, but like even as a young girl, like I had a crush on Pamela Anderson. Like she was the coolest.
Right. And she's still, and I think she still is. I think it's interesting that she's kind of like, I think, become a more what's the word I'm looking for? I think that as time has grown on, and maybe it's just because societally people tend to unfortunately devalue women as they get older,
As they
because
grow older,
they
yeah.
don't age and look the same or whatever. But I think sometimes the side benefit of that shitty misogyny is that then people will actually start listening to you. And I think she's a really interesting person, and I think that she's finally starting to get some of that due.
Yeah, for sure.
And kind of speaking, so last couple ones, I just want to couple quick ones, and then I want to get into another one because I'm sure she's also probably on your list, kind of. So Cameron Diaz in The Mask for sure, like that scene when she goes into the bank for the first time, like it was like memory burn. Rene Russo in Get Shorty and Outbreak, Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns, and then the other one that I think, like, especially for guys of a very certain age and who were like into like quote unquote weird girls, Christina Ricci.
Yes.
Like, and you kind of mentioned like growing along with like Christian Slater and some of these other guys. Like, that's another one for me where it's like Christina Ricci, seeing her in Addams Family and Casper and everything else.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God, you're cool, you're beautiful. Right? And then getting older, and then I seeing her in like In the Opposite of Sex. I remember that was one where I was like, ooh. And then getting old, right? Monster, Pumpkin, everything else, to now even on Yellow Jackets, where I'm just like, oh my God, you are still, even with this hideous perm wig on, you are still just so gorgeous. I'm still just so completely into Christina Ricci. And I doubt there will be a time in my life where that is not the case.
Yeah, no, she was a big, like, Wednesday Addams was a whole thing.
Right. I mean,
completely.
Like, I think it was, for a certain age group, right? She was kind of I think for folks a little bit older than myself, at least, it was like Winona Ryder in Heathers and Reality Bites. And then for people like for the 85, born in 85 type folks, like right around there, it was like, okay, Christina Ricci and Addams Family, like, it is the same thing of like, she's a little bit edgy, she's beautiful, she's got these big features, and just just totally.
She was definitely one of like my inspos, but so was Winona Ryder. And funnily enough, Winona Ryder and I have the same birthday, different years, but the same birth date. So
that's
I've
awesome.
always had that very cool Winona Ryder connection. But
you guys are like pals then.
Yeah, we totally
on
are.
A spiritual level.
Yeah, totally. But gosh, like, yeah, it's sort of around, I guess, around the same age like Power Rangers had come out. So by that point, it was like the Red Ranger, Jason. Then when he got replaced, it was Rocky the Red Ranger. Then it was Tommy the Green/White Ranger. Like, hello, this was life. Kimberly the Pink Ranger was the
Jo
girl
Johnston
crush, right? And she's still like girl crush material. And so are the guys. Like, I've met them, and they're the loveliest guys, and they're still like, I'm like, still gonna crush on you a bit. I think I even told one of them, like, maybe I told all of them. I'm like, I totally crushed on you, and then I'm just like, maybe I'm still am. No, but yeah,
Hey,
those are big
shooters got to
ones.
shoot, right? Like you
Yeah,
gotta
totally. You
you
meet
miss
your
100% of those
crushes.
shots you don't take, right?
Exactly. So they were definitely big ones. But as we sort of progressed, then there was like Keanu Reeves, Point Break kind
Mm-hmm.
of stuff. Kiefer Sutherland was a massive one for me. Again, he was the bully in Stand By Me. So I had
Right.
that. You had the Lost Boys. There's like Flatliners. There's all, so that one,
Well,
like as
back
I
to that
got
whole
into
like
school,
bad
oh
boy
my,
thing, right? Of like
exactly. There is a thing like bad boy for life, apparently, for Marcey. But yes, like as I'm in like grade 5 or 6 or something, in my we had the deaths. I remember I had little Kiefer Sutherlands and Keanu Reeves in there, and oh my god, yeah, big time ones for me as well. Like wow, yeah,
awesome. I
memories are
love.
flooding back. Although a funny one, at this go like I would say 95, 96 era. I definitely crushed on Nicolas Cage, and I definitely still do, but for probably
Okay.
different reasons. I just thought like he's this good looking, cool guy in all these cool movies. I was like,
I
yeah. And
no,
now
I
I'm
love
still
Nicolas
like,
Cage. I think
fuck,
there's
Nicolas Cage is the best.
he is, and I think there's just a certain quality to Nicolas Cage. I can go on and on about Nicolas Cage. I
Right.
actually have a Nicolas Cage project I've been working on for a while that I'm still working on. Um, but I think he is legitimately probably one of, if not like top five actors of his
Mm,
generation.
mm,
He's one of the most interesting, like big action,
mm,
just big stars, not even action per se.
mm,
Obviously, the action is great, but like he's one of the most interesting big stars
mm.
we've ever had, both like as a performer and then just also like he doesn't fit the mold of what a big
Yeah.
star should be,
Mm,
for numerous reasons. So I
yeah.
love Nicolas Cage. I am 100%
Yeah.
on board. Like that's another one you could easily put Nicolas Cage in the like in that kind, in,
Yeah.
like I said, my like platonic man
Yeah.
crush category of like
Yeah.
he's yeah.
Exactly. He's fantastic. He reinvents what he does like all the time. It's incredible.
Yeah,
What a dude. Yeah, he was another one, and yeah, I'm gonna say it. Yeah, it was totally bit of that, a bit of Nicolas Cage action. I mean,
I
come on,
totally
Con
agree.
Air with the long hair, with the tank top.
Right, and and
Please.
all he wants to do is get home to his daughter. Like,
Right? How
how can you?
romantic, dude.
Right, just wants to get home to his wife and daughter. Like, how? Come on, don't you want?
Totally.
And as a kid too, like as a boy growing up, don't you, or anybody, right? Don't you want a father who is like
Hmm.
prepared to land an airplane in the Vegas Strip to get to
I
come
wish
see
my
you?
dad was that cool. And
Right.
unfortunately, he's totally not.
I'm glad.
Uh,
I'm glad my
yeah.
dad hasn't had to be on a plane flight,
Mm,
like hasn't had to be in a Con Air situation.
yeah.
I'm just saying it wouldn't kill him to, have
To
to
try.
make
Yeah.
right, right.
Exactly. Before I send it back to you, I had to add because I'm just remembering these things now. Like growing up, being I guess what 6, 7, 8, around the time where grunge took off. Like I was crushing on like
Oh,
Kurt Cobain and Eddie Vedder and all of that. Like
sure.
just add that in there, like the musician boys, and it's probably stuck with me.
And
Dave
I
Grohl,
thought right. I
but
thought Lane
still.
Staley in the Alice in
Mm,
Chains Unplugged with like the purple hair and
mm,
the I thought he was one of the coolest guys ever, and
mm.
probably
Well,
certainly extends to some of my like continued advocacy that like the Alice in Chains Unplugged album is better than Nirvana Unplugged, and I will fight people to the death over that one.
I'll listen to them back to back or watch them back to back, and then I'll report back to you. We can have a
Perfect.
discussion on that.
Excellent.
Coming soon to After Dark Conversations. It's
We just
Alice in
add it to
Chains.
the
Yeah,
roster. Yeah.
Alice in Chains Unplugged
Childhood
versus
traumas.
Nirvana.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Childhood traumas. Alice in Chains versus Nirvana
yeah,
Unplugged.
yeah,
Perfect.
totally. But like that era, we were sort of getting out of the hair bands, and these were the people that I saw, and these were the people I listened to, and yeah, it was just like,
Oh yeah.
Kurt Cobain's death, like it's still, I would never get it's something, yeah, like Kurt Cobain, River Phoenix in that short amount of time. Yeah, and in Brandon Lee, who was another one, like you're devastated forever with those, like wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll send it back to you now. I just wanted to add that in because
No.
I don't think I have many more that it'll be like high school and then it's going to get weird.
So this is like my
Yeah.
last age category. So this is what I'm calling like my tween to teen. So all
Yes.
of these were crushes that I had like developed by the time I was 13, and
Mm,
a lot of them from the entire list, but especially these, like a lot of these kind of carry
mm,
over.
mm.
Um, so for the craft, like I
Yes.
say the craft because
All
all those
four.
girls, right? And Nev Campbell specifically, I'm going to talk about her a little bit later. But
Yes.
yeah, Rachel True,
Mm,
Robin Tunney, Feruza Balk, like
yes.
just huge crush on all of them.
My heroes.
Kind of
Seriously.
another
Yeah.
one where it's like I have a crush on all the women in this movie. Josie and the Pussycats, right? Rachel Lee
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Rosario Dawson, Tara Reid, Parker
Right.
Posey.
Right. All of them
Just
in that movie are the best. That movie is so. I saw that in the theaters. It's great.
I did too. I specifically
Ugh.
remember seeing it in theaters, and yeah, I loved it. You know, I will fight to the death that Three Small Words is like a top 10 song from a film of all time. And speaking of another film with really great songs, Liv Tyler, especially in That Thing You Do. This is right
Yes.
around that era. Like, hey, she's so gorgeous in That Thing You Do. And every time I watch it, I still get tears in my eyes when she goes in and she breaks up with Jimmy. And she's like,
Right.
I have wasted thousands of kisses on you, kisses that I thought were special.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting tears even just thinking about it.
I know,
She's so
right?
good and so beautiful on that. And of course, you know, right around the same time, Empire Records. It's Rex
Yes.
Manning Day. Rex Manning Day actually is the day before
It's
my birthday.
Rex Manning Day. It's like double
And
celebration for you then.
exactly, yeah, I get Rex Manning Day and that.
And your birthday.
Plus, again, you have in that too. I mean, Empire Records is
Renee
like one of the absolute.
Zellweger. What?
Yes, Robin Tunney again and she
Robin
shaved her head
Tunney.
in that
Yes.
and looks amazing. And then B, that's also why she has some really bad, unfortunate wigs in the
Wigs
craft.
in the craft. Yeah.
But yeah, so those Katie Holmes and Dawson's Creek in
Mm.
particular, like I remember watching that and everybody was so into Michelle Williams. And I mean, of course, Michelle Williams is beautiful, but like from episode 1, I was just like, Dawson, you're an idiot. Go for Joey. She is so pretty. Katie Holmes.
Don't get me
And
started on Dawson's Creek and Joshua Jackson. That's a whole thing.
oh, Joshua Jackson definitely fits into that category into that platonic guy crush category from the Mighty Ducks on. Like
It was from that first movie. Like because you brought it up now, I'm like, duh. I've liked Joshua Jackson since I was like 7.
yeah,
But then
I
Dawson's Creek came along and I got him every week. I was obsessed. And then you had like, every fucking character on that show. Like, bloody hell.
right. I mean that show is like all time like
Yes.
casting, just beautiful people for
Mm,
everything, right? Like every character in that show is gorgeous. Like special shout out
mm.
also to Monica Keena, who I loved in
Yes.
that, and then of course Freddy versus Jason.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so then
Mm,
so that's kind of like that kind of ends in middle school, and that's kind of like where I consider my
mm.
quote unquote childhood crushes. Um,
Yeah.
and then a few years kind of into that, and especially like in latter years, I've noticed that I have this category is called I like violent women with a question mark, which is like I like strong women, like you know emotionally and everything else, but like I mentioned Nev Campbell earlier, and so for
Mm.
me, my big awakening with Nev Campbell was unsurprisingly Scream.
Scream. Yeah.
Seeing Scream in theaters, that movie blew my mind completely. And Nev Campbell, the way that she grows throughout that film, and then right at the end when she is covered in blood,
Mm.
and she, you know, Randy's like, oh, you know, the killer comes back for just one, you know, one last scare, and she shoots Billy and says, "Not in my movie." I'm like, oh, I'm in love with
Yeah.
you. Like
Yeah.
I am in love with you, Sidney Prescott, Nev Campbell, whoever, I don't care,
Mm-hmm.
whichever person it is at this point. Like I'm in love with you. I will carry this torch for you from this day forward.
Right.
Um, and so that was like I
Same.
was thinking about things where I was kind of like, oh, I have a thing for like final
Mm.
girls,
Yes.
or
Me
like
too.
women
Seriously.
who for some reason end up covered in blood.
Yes.
Um,
Women or men covered in blood, it's so sexy. Like
something right,
this is why the scene where everyone's covered in blood in Blade at the start of Blade is so fucking hot.
right. Oh,
It's
I'm
ridiculous.
100% with you on that.
Right?
so like Nev Campbell, Salma Hayek in Desperado, and From Dusk Till Dawn.
Yes,
Jennifer Love
me too.
Hewitt in I
Oh,
Know
I
What You
used
Did
to
Last
love
Summer.
her.
She's a
Yeah.
terrible
Party
person,
of
and I can't.
Five. Oh my god.
Oh, absolutely. That I started watching Party of Five too, and that I was like, great. I get Nev Campbell and Jennifer Love Hewitt. Perfect. This next
Yeah.
person, she's a terrible person nowadays, unfortunately, but is Christy Swanson from the Buffy the Vampire
Yeah.
Slayer
She
movie.
was, yeah, because I used to love that Luke Perry
Right.
being in that, but
Rutger
now it's
Hauer,
like,
Paul Rubens,
yeah,
Hilary Swank. Yeah, it's
what
hard
it,
to
what
kind of like.
it's so stupid, but it's so fun. But yeah, she's very tainted now, and it's just like, yeah,
Yeah, well, and then Joss Whedon too is like, I guess
right,
I guess he's been
fuck off,
trash for a while, but it
yeah,
really
fuck
seems to have
off,
gotten revealed lately as to how trash he is.
yeah,
So
yes,
yeah, Chris Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the movie, really
mm,
hard to enjoy nowadays.
yeah, a little bit.
Um, uh, Sarah Connor specifically in Terminator 2,
Oh yeah,
Linda Hamilton, like when you see her doing those like the
hmm,
pull ups, you first see her and she like looks over,
yeah,
she's got those bangs and she's like sweaty and
she's
she looks like she's gonna
amazing.
murder anybody. I'm just like,
Yeah, yeah.
please let it be me that you murder.
Yeah,
Um,
like I would. She can do whatever she wants.
yeah,
Seriously,
and
amazing.
Ellen Ripley
Yes, yes.
specifically, like Sigourney Weaver in general, but like
Oh, Sigourney in
but
general.
Ellen Ripley in
Seriously.
particular, whether you're
Mm.
talking Alien, Aliens,
Aliens.
or Alien 3, like just gorgeous. And like, I know she could just destroy me, and I had
Yeah.
before. And so then this is the one that my last one in this, like, I like violent women category is one that is like my deep cut, and it's Sam Phillips in Die Hard with a Vengeance. She is the woman who plays Jeremy Irons' like henchwoman,
Yeah.
uses the scythes. But I think most people probably know her without knowing her. They know her very well, probably from Gilmore Girls. She does a lot of those incidental music. So like where the guitar is like that acoustic guitar and the woman going la 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 la, like that's her. But in that movie, and I think it's her only film credit as like an actor.
Mm.
Versus, I think she's done like I think she has like a small cameo on Gilmore Girls, but specifically in that movie, like with the like blue
Mm.
tank top and the
Yeah.
glasses and the slick blue blonde hair.
I
I'm
get
just
it.
like,
Yeah.
yes. Um, and then I kind of mentioned already, I'm just going to kind of run through these real quick. And if you want to talk about anyone, we can absolutely do so.
I'll
But
probably
then
just
like
agree with you.
my platonic, like these are like my man crush. I call them the
Yes.
platonic crush categories. We already mentioned Harrison Ford
Yes.
and Josh Jackson. Sam Malone, not Ted Danson, but Sam Malone from Cheers. Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger, because again, like I was just at the right age.
Yeah.
Terminator, all that stuff. It was just like I want to
Yeah.
be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, Kevin
Yeah.
Costner, Michael Keaton, and then the
Yeah.
other two, um, also from Scream, which was a very very important film for me.
It was for me too. Trust
Is
me.
Matthew Lillard as Stu
Yeah.
and Jamie Kennedy as Randy. I
Yeah.
thought Matthew Lillard was just, even though he was a terrible murderer, like I will get
Mm-hmm.
that out of the way, notwithstanding, I thought
Mm-hmm.
he was the coolest. He was so funny.
Right.
He's wearing this. I specifically remember he's wearing in the latter half of the movie when they're at the
Like that
party at his
sweater
house
thing. Yeah.
that sweater, and I remember asking for a sweater just like that for my birthday and
Oh,
for Christmas. I had like two or three of them. I thought it was so cool that like that
that's
kind of
cute.
cream colored sweater. I just thought it was
Yeah.
the coolest. So
Yeah.
those are kind of like all my range
Yeah.
of childhood crushes.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably so many I haven't thought of, but like, yeah, you mentioned The Craft and Scream, like Scoot Ulrich, hello.
Right.
Yes.
How can you not? And again, like he
Really,
okay,
it's
like
amazing.
Billy Loomis is terrible. I can't remember the name of his character in The Craft. He's also
Yeah.
terrible,
Yeah.
but he's
Again,
also
it's
so
terrible men.
cool.
It's
And
ruined
yeah.
me for life, seriously. Again, like Matthew Lillard, loved him in Scream so much. Jamie Kennedy, loved him in that, but then not much else really.
Same, but
Loved him in
it's just that
Scream
thing
more
of
than
like
anything.
he was fun, he was funny, he was like a big nerd, and I
Yeah.
was just like, okay, cool. Like it was like that, like I can relate to you, and like, and
Yeah.
I want to just like, I know you have an awesome VHS collection at home,
Mm.
and you have some cool recommendations. Can we just like hang out
Yeah.
and you like just recommend stuff? You can probably be quiet through the rest of it,
Yeah.
but like I'm sure we'd
Yeah.
have fun hanging out.
It was a relatable character because that was me, like the total nerd.
Yes.
I'm trying to think. Like we talked about Ninja Turtles, and I didn't even mention. Yeah, I used to freaking have a crush on Michelangelo. Still my favorite Ninja Turtle, but whatever.
Oh
You
yeah,
had crushes
I
on
love. I
cartoons,
mean, I
right?
absolutely. There's always like on Twitter or wherever they always have that question of like, what did you want to be when you grew up? And like
A Ninja
my
Turtle.
original career choice, yeah, Ninja Turtle and a lawyer were like
Yeah,
my two.
yeah,
Ideally, I would be able to do both. So like I'd go out and I'd like fight
mm,
crime as a Ninja Turtle, and then
mm,
on the
yeah,
nights and weekends, and then take them to court on Monday morning.
yeah. Aladdin was another one. Like Aladdin, I think the Prince Eric from The Little Mermaid, but the biggest crush I had with like Disney animated stuff, it was the Beast as the Beast. I didn't
Well,
like him in human form.
I have never heard anyone actually say that they are into him in human form. I think
Nah.
everybody has a crush on him
Yeah.
as the Beast.
Yeah, as the Beast, beautiful. In the live action version, yes, I have a crush on the human version because it's Dan Stevens, and that is my current big
I
celebrity
mean,
crush.
if
Like, I
Dan
still think
Stevens,
we could get married, even though he's married. Whatever, there's still hope for me and Dan Stevens.
there's
That's
there's ways
yeah,
around it.
yeah.
Dan Stevens in The Guest, like, come
Don't get me
on,
started. Ugh.
come on.
Yes, that he's my man now. But
I would.
yeah, I guess yeah, all of my kind of crushes at that point and growing up, like yeah, I kind of still have them, I suppose. As it kind of hit sort of like I guess the tail end of high school, it was wrestling. There's so many wrestlers I used to love, ridiculous. Jeff Hardy was like a massive one. That was a big obsession for ages, just because he's such a different looking guy. But then again, all the girl crushes on female wrestlers was another thing. Uh, but yeah, I think my taste pretty much speaks for itself. Like you mentioned that thing you do, Tom Everett Scott, which I mentioned a few weeks ago on a podcast we watched American Werewolf in Paris. I
Oh
still love
yeah. Oh,
him.
Julie Delpy in that too.
Julie Delpy, amazing. Jonathan Check, even though he's an asshole in that thing you do, I still love him. Ethan
He's
Embry, still love Ethan Embry. Gimme, gimme, gimme. He's amazing. Like, yeah, a lot of random, can't hardly wait. Seth Green, I used to love Seth Green. Like, what the fuck? He's the
he was
nerdiest of the nerds.
and it was just so of that era too, though, right? Because I mean,
Right?
it's the same thing with like Ethan Embry. It's like you have
Mm,
him in That Thing You Do, right, in this very like kind of like small, unassuming part,
mm,
but then he's the lead, right? 2 years
yeah.
later, a year, 2 years later, Can't Hardly Wait. That was another big
Mm,
Jennifer Love Hewitt one for me too.
yeah.
I was just like, oh god, like I'm
Yeah.
100% with you.
Yeah, totally. And like Joseph Gordon-Levitt was a big one, even when he was a little kid in that show. Because
Sure.
I was a little kid at the time. Then he grew up, and I'm like, oh my god, yes. 10 Things I Hate About You was a big one,
Larissa Olenek and
right?
Julia Stiles. Like, I already had a
Right?
crush on Larissa from The Secret World of Alex Mack,
Right.
and then that was kind of when I was like, that was another one of those like, oh, maybe I kind of like Mean Girls
Yes.
with with Julia Stiles. Like,
Yes. And
maybe I
then yeah,
kind of like a girl who
you
will
have
be
that
mean to me.
Heath Ledger, like yeah. Name so many people, like yeah, these are the people that were crushed on.
Okay, one more that I have to mention,
Yes,
and
we'll
this will
end
be the
it on
last
this
one because
one.
otherwise I could go for a million
We'll
years.
be here for 3 hours, and
Right?
that's not happening.
Yeah.
We have things to do,
Marissa Tomei.
sadly.
Marissa Tomei.
Oh, big
My
yes,
Cousin Vinny, Only You, Slums of Beverly
yes.
Hills. Like,
Hearts and Souls, was it? Was she in Hearts and Souls or the other one? There was a Robert
mm,
Downey Jr. one I
that's
can't
Only You.
remember.
That's
Only
Only You.
You. Hearts and
Right
Souls
where she's like,
was
she makes the wish in the
the
wishing fountain and meets him in like
yes.
Italy.
The
Yeah,
other
that's
one
Only
was
You.
the ghost one. I was thinking of
Mm,
the ghost one for some reason, but someone was it was Robert Downey Jr. in the
yeah, in
the
Only You
ghost
for sure.
ones. Yeah, there was that. There was Hearts and Souls, but I can't remember who the girl was in it. I
Mm.
remember Kira Sedgwick was one of the ghosts. Now I'm thinking of this movie because I haven't thought of it because a lot of these like early '90s, um, they all kind of blend together.
Oh yeah, well,
Um,
especially like I haven't
oh,
seen Only
Elizabeth
You.
Shue was in Hearts and Souls, and yes, Marissa Tomei was in the other one. Yes, and my cousin Vinny, especially, she's so good. How can I forget the Karate Kid himself, Ralph Macchio? Oh my god!
Well, and Elizabeth Shue, that Back to the
Right?
Future, Adventures in Babysitting, and then Nick Cage as well, right? Leaving Las Vegas,
Right.
which is just
But yes,
the most
the Karate
joyful
Kid
movie.
was a big one. Like, seriously, the two mains in the Karate Kid, like Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso, yes. And then you go to part 3 with Karate's bad boy, Mike Barnes. I still love that guy. He went to Bold and the Beautiful. I fucking watched way more Bold and the Beautiful than is normal because of him. All right. Okay. That's
I
done.
get
We're
it. Like I
done
said,
now.
that's how I started getting into Party of Five, was Jennifer Love Hewitt and
There
Mark
we
Hamill.
go.
I was like, all right, I'm gonna
Matthew
watch this.
Fox, Scott Wolf, hello. Marcy, what are you thinking? These are other men too.
Lacey Chabert too.
Right. Okay, we're gonna go on
We've
forever.
got to go because I know you have stuff to do, and I have a dinner reservation
Yes.
that I have to make in like an hour.
There we
And
go.
I feel like I need to go now because otherwise we're gonna run right up into.
We're gonna just go. But yes, thank you for joining me to talk about our early celebrity crushes. What a nostalgia trip that was. Amazing. Yes, thank you so much. And where can people check you out if they so desire to?
So the main one is going to be on Twitter at Barton Roberts, BartonRoberts. I'm also launching a podcast here within the next couple weeks called This Is the One. And it's a podcast talking to movie lovers about the movie that made them love movies.
Excellent.
And so for me, that was Scream. I saw that in theaters, and that was kind of like the first. I'd loved movies up until that point. I was 11 years old, and I'd loved movies up to that point. But that was the one where I was like, it blew my mind. And then I started learning about screenwriting and like, oh, Kevin Williamson, like he actually wrote this and everything, and all these other things. And so that was the movie that really made me fall in love with movies and film, as opposed to just like, oh, I really like Star Wars or Batman or whatever, right? Like, this was when I started taking the medium seriously. So the podcast is a conversational podcast, very similar to kind of like what we did today, where we're going to just talk about, the plan is have folks on to talk about what that movie was, why that movie, and that sort of thing, and kind of get to know each other and talk more about the movies that kind of made us the people we are today.
Looking forward to checking it out. So maybe by the time this episode drops, it might be out or almost coming out. So yeah, people keep an eye out on it. Thank you.
And of course, open invitation for you to join.
Oh, absolutely. Yes,
right.
Absolutely. Pencil me in. I will be there.
I certainly will.
Yes, thank you so much. And if people want to check us out at the After Dark Podcast Network for After Dark Conversations or After Dark with Super Marcey, check the link tree at linktr.ee/After Dark Network. All the links are there, and you can find the Twitter at After Dark Podnet. So until next time, what happens after dark stays after dark. Bye bye.